Today's episode is sponsored by the American Homebrewers Association. Become a part of the U.S.'s largest community of homebrewers for just $48 a year by going to unitedwedrink.com/AHA. What exactly do you get with your AHA membership? How about a year-long subscription to Zymergy Magazine, the world's longest-running homebrew magazine? Exclusive deals and discounts at over 2,000 breweries, bars, and bottle shops across America. Discounts on Brewers publication books and merchandise. Access to a huge library of previous HomebrewCon seminars and talks. And early access to purchasing tickets to each year's Great American Beer Festival and Savor. Sign up now by going to unitedwedrink.com/AHA and get a year's membership for just $48. And if you sign up now, you'll get a free gift. What's that gift? I'm not saying. You need to go see for yourself. It's pretty great. Support United We Drink, support homebrewing, and support the American Homebrewers Association at unitedwedrink.com/AHA. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour? More like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
How are you now? And welcome back to the podcast that if you have a problem with Saisons, then you have a problem with me. So I suggest you let that one marinate. Welcome to United We Drink right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich, and I'm not so bad. Joining me is my pal that has no idea that I'm doing a whole Letterkenny bit with this whole opening. Here's Squirrely Joel Codner.
I was wondering what that was. You kind of startled me in a Hank Kingsley, hey now kind of way.
My wife and I are in the midst of rewatching the whole series of Letterkenny. It's a fantastic show. I highly suggest anyone who enjoys good comedy to watch it. So yeah, been finding myself doing a whole lot of Canadian jargon in my my speech recently.
Is that what that was? Canadian?
The show is Canadian and based in Canada. I wasn't trying to do an accent, but just doing the jargon and some of the bits, the recurring bits, if you will. Joel, how you been doing since the last time we recorded one of these there internet radio shows?
Doing well. Not doing a hell of a lot. Just doing my thing. Currently
plugging away at Brew Days.
Yeah, really getting comfortable over there. Really getting the hang of how things operate, and just kind of trying to. I don't know what the word is. Just it's going well. I'm more comfortable on the brew deck. I feel like I'm a little more confident in what I'm doing there. It's it's pretty intimidating at first, but I think we got things rolling right now.
Yeah, you had a very successful canning run and release for your first ever 3 canned beers over there.
Yeah, that went really well. We had Ironheart Canning come in and package up a few things for us. Our Mojito Seltzer, our Single in Paradise, which was a sour ale with guava and passion fruit. Really just, I hate the word crushable, but man.
It is crushable.
I mean, it's just one of those Florida beers, and it's so well balanced too. It's not one of those, we put 40 boxes of puree in the fermenter and 3 ounces of wort.
And then you let it all stay on the outside of the tank.
Yes. We didn't erupt this one, as seems to be the standard practice everywhere. And then our Endless Enigma, if you want to talk about balanced, basically kind of a blur of styles between hazy IPA and Belgian. I mean, that Belgian funk, that kind of bubblegummy and grassy note, and all that a little bit of spice character almost melded with these tropical hops, and it's also really well crafted. I mean, our assistant brewer Ralph there just kicked ass with the recipe, and that beer was done and kind of finished being worked on just as I had arrived. So I really had no involvement in that beer, but that was something. The last time I tried it was really hyping it up and was really excited to see it getting packaged, and it sold out in the first day, which was just unbelievable. And big pre-sale, and then everybody who showed up that day got them, and just such a it was one of those beers that encouraged me to really consider taking this job, because I liked the idea that they were going outside of their comfort zone a little bit and getting into hops and not being so entirely traditional. And to any outsider it seems like, oh, it's about fucking time, like we're years behind, but it's like that's not what we're really trying to do. We obviously we want to put something out there that people are interested in, but also take the time to craft it really well, and I hate it, but in a certain way, my best way of describing that beer is to tell you what it's not, because there are so many horrible examples of the style. It's not gritty, it's not oxidized and over hopped and all these things. It's certainly not going to explode. So it's something that even though I wasn't involved with, I'm super proud of, and we've got some more interesting hoppy stuff coming soon.
So you're saying it is not the beloved mascot of the Philadelphia Flyers?
No, it is not gritty.
Unfortunate. Yeah, I thanks to you, was able to try all three of those cans. I'm not a seltzer guy, but if I can spin it in a positive light, I gotta say it is the least sweet hard seltzer I've ever had, and to me that's a positive thing, because that's what turns me off from almost every hard seltzer that I have, is that they're all sweet messes. The flavors aren't really my thing, but to each their own. I agree with your very pained statement about Single in Paradise. It is very crushable. Those flavors are excellent. I mean, it's probably very heavy on the passion fruit, but I like passion fruit, and passion fruit is a very dominant flavor. So I think that works really well with it. The only thing that I would say of critique that I mentioned is the carb level seems a little low for what I know our friend Kevin's standards usually are with beers over there. Like if anything is below like 3.2, he thinks it's flat. But yeah. I know putting stuff into cans is you can't really go that high on counter pressure filling.
Yeah, because it was an outside cannery and they have their own parameters and guidelines for packaging, we had to fit those beers within those specific windows of carbonation and even DO. So
yeah.
And those guys were great. I mean, real true professionals, very patient with us as we were, getting it together, and kind of because we had 3 beers to package all in one day. And, the way we worked it was like, okay, we're going to make sure all 3 of these beers are in tanks that are all right next to each other at the very end of the row, so that these guys can just switch from tank to tank very quickly and we can make this day as efficient as possible. But I mean, we still had our own little issues with, even something seemed a little off with one of the temperatures. So, we were getting dialed in as they were getting dialed in, and we learned a hell of a lot, and we're going to be even more prepared for the next canning run. So, it's one of those things it's your first time. You learn from all the little glitches and things, and we'll have it even more dialed in for the next one. So we're pretty excited.
But best of all, I saved the Endless Enigma for last for trying those 3 cans, and oh boy, like that's I think a game changer when it comes to the whole hazy IPA game. The utilization of Belgian yeast with that really adds an interesting depth of character in the flavor and aroma to that. Like you have the citrus and the tropical fruit notes from those hops, but man, like the bubblegum note from the yeast in that, along with like spot on body, spot on carbonation to that style, and it looked like a hazy too when I poured it into a glass. Like that's something cool and interesting and different that you just don't see from a style that I think even rightfully so gets criticized for being one dimensional, and that like bad examples stick out, but then your best ones all are pretty similar to one another. So to add something else that changes up that flavor with your yeast profile, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. And I don't think it's anything really revolutionary because Belgian IPAs have been a thing for a long time, but this one really got my attention last year when I first tried it, and it was very inspirational to me to see the melding of two styles, but executed so well. Because I feel like so many breweries would just go, all right, we're just going to make our normal IPA and, throw some Belgian yeast on it and hop the shit out of it and call it a day. But, I mean, Ralph and the guys, they really put a lot of work into this one, especially Ralph. I mean, when this guy, he's a hop mad scientist, and when he starts talking hops, I feel like I don't even speak his language, and it's inspiring, and he's very passionate, and his eyes light up when he's talking hops. So it's going to be really cool to see, what he does with the next one, because I know that's in the works, and I think people are going to be pretty impressed. And he just, he worked so hard on it and cared so much and really wanted to be sure that there's no little floaties, there's no grittiness, that it's well balanced, that it's, carbonated properly and has the right body to it and just everything, I mean, he really put a lot into this one, and I think it shows.
That's awesome to hear. I've barely had any conversation with Ralph before. I've heard nothing but great things from you and our friend Kevin over there about his work ethic and his knowledge, and you guys got a good one over there, and I wish there were a ton more of Ralphs out there who could really help operations out all over the place.
And I'll tell you what, man, another thing is having him on, like, I mean, the whole team. Like, this may be the first time where I feel like I can do my work and go home at night and leave it all at the brewery and not worry, because I know they put together, a good operation. Sure, there can be hiccups and blackouts and power surges and all those sorts of things, but, for the most part, the place is very well put together. I have not used a floor squeegee in months now, which, I mean, this is the first time in my career. God bless. I mean, to just be able to drop liquid on the floor and just not give a shit because it's going to go where it needs to go, it's like a game changer.
Sometimes all you have to do is just get the hose and spray it to give it a little extra oomph. But yeah, slope floors, dude. Slope floors.
Oh my God, it's truly a blessing. And no, but having all these people in place, I feel like I could just go home at night and not worry about the beer, and it's a great fucking feeling. Like, to not be at home, and be like, oh God, like, even the tap room, man. I mean, every brewery I've worked at has had the tap room and the brew house staff integrated in a way where it's like, we have to be concerned about cleaning the lines and all that. It's like, I don't have to, because our tap room people take care of that. They're good about cleaning glassware. They're good about cleaning the lines. They're good about keeping the tap room stocked. Like it's like it's on autopilot. It's amazing. It's truly a blessing to not have to worry about all these moving parts and focus on your job. And it's just great, man. I'm feeling really good about where I'm at right now.
That's amazing. What are you talking about beer so much? What are you drinking?
So I'm drinking a 2021 Zephyr Hills bottled water.
That sounds so pained
uh,
saying that.
yeah, I had a beer planned for this episode. I was going to drink this collaboration I picked up from Brewmaster, which is it's like I forgot who they collaborated with, but it's basically like a stout with white chocolate, coconut, and banana. But I had a nap before this episode, and I woke up feeling kind of gross. I had before the nap, and the thing that caused me to have to take the nap was the foot-long Publix sub that I had, and then I just kind of woke up with a little bit of indigestion, and I'm like, fuck, I guess I'm not drinking this pastry boy tonight, but maybe I'll hang on to it for the next episode. So yeah, just boring water for me tonight.
Well, you're tons of fun. I got, while I was at Big Box Retailer today, looking at all of the stuff I've never heard of and out of code stuff, I picked up a 4-pack of Edmund's Oast Bound by Time IPA. I've heard good things about this brewery, Edmund's Oast. They are out of Charleston, South Carolina.
Yep.
The cans are from the 6th of this month. So I was like, oh, sweet. These are fresh cans. I love the artwork on their cans. Very occult-like, which is a thing that I love. Moths and geometry and clocks and numbers and stuff like that. I really like it's simple. It's just black and white labels. Really good IPA. And it was, I think, 14 or 15 bucks for a 4-pack, which, I mean, in today's world, I feel is pretty decent price for a 4-pack of hazies at this point in time. But pretty tasty IPA. I'm very happy by it.
I've heard really good things about them as well, and when I was getting set up at a previous brewery, the guy who installed our glycol system had also done Edmund Oasts and was telling me all about the place and said it was almost similar. I guess they have food there as well, and I've heard a lot of good things. They seem to have picked up some, I don't know, maybe cult status a little bit, while not being like a hype train brewery. It seems like the emphasis has been on, quality and just doing a really great job and not so much hype. So that's, good to hear. And I really want to check that place out if I go on another road trip. I really didn't have, aside from where we were actually staying in North Carolina and going to Asheville, I didn't have most beer I could pick up in the other states was, at gas stations and shit like that. I didn't really get a chance to stop at any breweries, but that one would have definitely been on the list.
Oh, Charleston is a place that I is definitely on my list of spots to hit at some point in my life. I've heard nothing but good things about the food and just the architecture. I love a lot of these like old southern cities. Like Savannah was when we got to go there even just for a day, walking around that city. I'm like, fuck, I love this. And I know you've been hard selling me. My wife has been hard selling me on Nolans for quite a while, and I know that that's going to be a thing eventually to go to. But yeah, I mean, knowing that there's an awesome brewery there in Charleston to hit up. I mean, there's more than just them. Don't think they're definitely not friends of the podcast because I don't think they listen, but our friends at Holy City, who we got to meet from a previous brewery that we worked for, who I think are just outside of Charleston, but super awesome dudes, really good beers. We met them at GABF one year when we were working there. But yeah, that's definitely a city I want to go to.
I feel like we're at the point where we've had several former breweries now that maybe we should give them like fake names. Like one of them could be Right On Brewing Company. The other could be just
Lawyer's Pipe Dream Brewing.
Polka Ponzi Scheme Brewing Company. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that one.
I like that one.
And then
we'll name a beer that eventually. Don't fucking steal that. If I see that on
that's
Untapped, I'm coming for you.
You know there's going to be 4 of them by the time Friday rolls around. They'll put it on Untapped just to spite us.
Yeah. Okay. Second shift, you can do it. That's it. But yeah, I enjoyed this beer. And I have a low fill can of our High Ridge IPA backed up, ready to go.
I'm surprised you did not go with the package you received.
From you?
No, didn't you get your Dovetail?
Oh yeah. I'm halfway through it. I have the Rausch beer left, which I feel like I got to hold for a specific thing, and then I got a couple of their spontaneous beers that as well I want to kind of hold on to for special occasions. I had the Helles, the Pilsner, and the Dark Czech Lager. All were fucking awesome, but man, that Dark Czech Lager, otherworldly,
Really?
Just fantastic beer.
I knew it would be amazing. Like, I bought merch before I bought beer, and shout out to Chicago Alley. She came down and brought me several cans of stuff, like 3 4-packs of like 2 4-packs of Dovetail, some couple of off-color beers, and a couple of New Glarus. Thank you so much. So I actually got to try Dovetail before I even ordered it. So, and thankfully, because like now I kind of know like what I want to reorder and what I want like to try outside of what she brought down. Really, I mean, I knew it would be awesome just by following them for a while and knowing about how, you know, what they do and interacting with them a little bit, and obviously seeing how beloved they are in Chicago by other people who, you know, appreciate quality beers. But man, they do magical things with carbonation. Just the crispness and those tight bubbles, there's just a difference. There is a noticeable difference, and it's such a weird thing to discuss because normally people are talking about like flavor and aroma and mouthfeel and this and that, but like I was so focused on that carbonation when I tried the first couple of them. I had the Helles, the Hef, the Lager, the Kolsch, and I was just like, this is, I don't know what they're doing. It could be they might be spunding it. I don't know, but there's something beautiful about the way those beers are carbonated, and it just goes a long way toward the overall experience of enjoying them. And I feel like it's something that, you know, a lot of breweries are just like, we're just gonna blast it and, you know, be done with it. But this was something else. It was just on a different level, and truly, like I poured some in a glass and then I let it settle a little bit. And then I poured a little more, and it did that thing where, like, the carbonation kind of bursts out of the liquid that I just poured into the liquid that was already in the glass, and it did this whole kind of waterfall-y dance. I don't know how to explain it. I wish I had it on video. I tried to recreate it and record it with my phone, and I just couldn't get it to but I'm telling you, I mean, like, there are certain times when I'm drinking a beer and it is sparkling in a certain way that you just look at it and you're just fucking in awe. And that's the kind of shit I appreciate. And it was just tremendous. And I'm definitely going to get my order in this weekend. Hopefully some of that Dark Czech Lager is left, because I know they said they were getting low on it.
Well, you know, like when you talk about the carbonation and spunding and stuff like that, one thing I've learned working at Copperpoint, where we do practically 2 different lagers year round, like when primary's done and you go to start lagering and you close that tank off, like you're going to get some yeast that continue to be a little bit active even in those colder temperatures. And we've had, especially with our pills, it is damn near close to carbonated by the time that we're transferring to bright, just sitting in the tank under pressure.
Yeah.
And we'll put it under some pressure too. Like we'll add like 15 psi head pressure for like continuously for a few days and let it absorb some of that too. So by the time it gets over into the bright, we only need to give it a little bump on the carb stone to get it to where we want it to be. And it's fantastic. Like we do, like, I sure hope I'm not giving any company secrets away, but usually my boss isn't too big on those things. But anytime you see Keller pills on our tap list, it is from the FV pills that just hasn't been run through the filter. And it's still mostly clear, but that's what he wants to call it. And it's pretty damn carbed. So like it's some of that time and just head pressure on that. You have a beer that's already damn ready, and then you can play with it and be pretty, like, you have so much more control, I feel like, when you get to bright, as opposed to a lot of ales that are still so young and fresh going over to a bright, and you're having to carb them from like nothing. And you might be scrubbing stuff in the aromas by blowing off after carbing for a little while. So there's a lot of stuff that can go on there, but it's really cool that you picked up on the carb in those beers.
And holy shit, did you know this might not have been on the website earlier and I don't even recognize it because the can looks totally different than the other cans. Did you know they have a Rausch Doppelbock?
They just released it either today when we're recording or yesterday. I did see that, yeah.
Ooh. All right, I'm ordering.
So while Joel's ordering, let's get into talking about some news. I don't really know how to do this. This was Phil's thing when he was with us, but we picked a couple news bits to talk about. And first, we're going to talk about some hype beers here. And first, let's talk about one from within our state, and that is Cigar City Brewing releasing the details on their release of Hunapoo's Imperial Stout this year. The 2021 edition of Hunapoo's will not have a beer fest as traditional. The beer fest was canceled last minute, as the whole COVID-19 thing was going down right around that time. But they are releasing to the public 750 bottles of Hunapoo's Imperial Stout and 500 milliliter bottles of bourbon barrel-aged Hunapoo's Imperial Stout. They are, as of right now, doing a lottery. It costs nothing to join the lottery from now until Friday, February 12th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can enter the lottery for two different signups. One is for two 750s of Hunapoo's Imperial Stout, while the other lottery is for two 750s of Hunapoo's Imperial Stout and two 500 milliliter bottles of Hunapoo's Imperial Stout. Actually, while I'm reading this, I'm realizing that there are two different deadlines on these beers, so let me start that over. If you just want the two bottles of Hunapoo's, no barrel aging, sign-ups for the lottery are going until 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, February 12th. Lottery winners will be selected and notified on Saturday, February 13th. Lottery sign-ups for the two bottles of Hunapoo's and the two bottles of bourbon barrel-aged Hunapoo's will take place from now until February 5th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lottery winners will be selected and notified on Saturday, February 6th. So keep that in mind. In order to sign up for the lottery, you have to download beverage marketplace, their app, onto your phone. I know it's another app, but if you want this beer, that's what you got to do. And you can do that. You will be charged if you are selected as a lottery winner. And there are no refunds if you are a winner. So know that in advance. And then you will be able to pick up your allotments between Friday, March 12th and Sunday, April 11th at the Spruce Street Brewery in Tampa. They will not ship. Proxy pickups are going to be permitted.
I just downloaded and installed the app, and it's interesting. I obviously having another app sucks, but if you look at how they're doing this, I mean, I wish more breweries would. I was already impressed by Odd Breed's online ordering system and not having to go get in lines or fucking sit in the parking lot at 6 a.m. and all that horse shit. So I think this is great. I mean, proxies are allowed. Pricing is on here, which I didn't see on the Cigar City website.
How much is it?
So it looks like the 2 bottles of Hunahpu are $60, and the 2, I guess it's 2 Bourbon Barrel and 2 Hunahpu are $120.
Okay.
I don't know if there's taxes or fees or any of that stuff on top of it. But look, to do this through an app and not have
Joel
people...
just did it. Look how easy it is.
Yeah. And if I can do it, believe me, you can do it. But I think this is good. Like, who the fuck wants to sit in an alley all night with the rest of the cargo short-wearing motherfuckers who are just looking to flip these bottles and listen to them talk all their shitlord talk? I mean, just use the app and be even more antisocial. I mean, this is the way it's going. We're becoming cyborgs. So just order your beer online. I mean, how great was that Tampa Bay Beer Week release? Just fucking, order it online, have it shipped to you. I mean, this is great. Like, ordering from Dovetail. I mean, I'm doing that on another tab right now. So, fuck, I might sign up for this Hunahpu lottery. Who cares? It's been a couple years.
Yeah, it really has been since I've had Hunahpus. Great beer. And so it pretty much works out to be $30 bottle, regardless of the barrel age or the regular, even though the barrel age is a 500 ml bottle. So there you go. Hunahpu's release info. Go get you some. And now let's go to the other West Coast, the one of the country, not of Florida, and talk about Russian River doing their release of Pliny the Younger in bottles only, no draft this year. And, of course, people were fucking mad when it all sold out. They did bottled mix cases with some of their other stuff and did pre-sales of them. And as they say that it sold out in like 5 minutes, people bitched and moaned like, I was there and I had it in my cart within 30 seconds and I didn't get it. Fuck off. Like, you can say a lot of things about Russian River. Like, they still use Comic Sans on some of their labels. Not a great look. But, I mean, Natalie and Vinny seem to be some of the most genuinely nice people in this entire industry. Like, they love making beer. They love it. And, like, that you think that they fucked you over getting this beer is silly. This is a beer they've been doing for a long, long time. They did it in bottles last year too, but holy shit, that people are still getting themselves all worked into a hissy over beer during a pandemic.
And California being completely fucking shut down.
I know they're quasi opening back up now, but still, like I've still never had this beer. I lived in Philly when a number of bars got Pliny the Younger every year, and I was like, not dealing with that hassle. And I like, if I have the chance to try it, I'm sure I'm gonna enjoy having it. But at the end of the day, I don't remember who the first person to ever say it was. It's just fucking beer.
Yeah,
They probably
I
didn't
know.
use the F word in it, but
It's not on the label. Look, I think we've said this a million times over the years. If there's a particular whale, and I hate to even use that word, but if there's something that you really want, and it's not some fucking one-off that's just never gonna exist again, chances are you're gonna get your hands on it sooner or later. If you're not a piece of shit, I mean, if you have good friends in the industry, or even just just an online friend brought me Dovetail and a bunch of other cool shit this week for no other reason than just to be a cool fucking person. And I'm eternally grateful for that kind of stuff. And like, someone offered to send me from I don't want to say who, but someone from a particular brewery today offered to send me something that I was talking to somebody else about that I had missed out on when it was here. And they're like, hey, I'll send you. I'm like, just like, wow, thank you. Like, you don't have to, bitch and complain. Like if you have good friends and hang with good people and be a good person yourself, you're going to be able to try the shit you want to try. It's going to come to you. And, to see people like in the middle of a fucking pandemic bitching and complaining and blah, 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 you're like, fuck off. Like, listen, I've had some lousy experiences during the pandemic with certain places I've ordered food from and shit like that, and I was kind of really surprised that things went as bad as they did in a couple situations, because I'm like, this is a shit show, and people are trying to spend money the best way they can and allocate it to certain, like it's not like it used to be where everything's just open for business and everything's normal. Like, businesses are fighting to survive and they're struggling and shit like that, and people themselves are struggling and are being very choosy about who they're getting what from and all that. So it surprised me in a couple of situations when things went as badly as I did, because I'm like, man, you got to be on top of your fucking A game right now to retain your customers and stay alive. But in this case, I mean, regardless of the pandemic and all that other shit, if this thing sold out in 5 minutes a year ago or a year from now, people would still be bitching.
oh yeah,
Because it's
sure.
that beer entitlement.
I deserved it. I was waiting on their website since 6 a.m. I was logged in. I created my account. I preloaded up my credit card. It was all there, bro. I fucking had it. But they fucked me over. Fuck.
I was one of those assholes a decade ago, and I got called on it and learned the hard way.
But I mean, good for Russian River. I mean, could they have done it in a different way? Sure, but what they did worked for them. Like they've been a brewery that, like, I rag on people who use the term humble in the most unhumble of ways. This is a brewery that comes across as humble to me, because I mean, they're still bottling up in 500 milliliter bottles their renowned Pliny the Elder, Blind Pig, so many of their beers. And up until recently, they were like, yo, we're not expanding. Like, when they had an ability to upgrade their brew system from a 50 barrel, they kept it at a 50 barrel. They just got a different 50 barrel system. They just swapped them out. And we're like, nah, we want to keep on doing this. And then they made the brewery in Windsor that upped their ability of production, and they haven't opened up new markets. They're still West Coast, Colorado, Philadelphia, and Colorado and Philadelphia, I think, are just are draft on their hoppy stuff and bottles. They have bottles of some of the sours and Belgian stuff, but like they haven't changed their distribution footprint really much. I mean, these folks are just trying to keep their locals happy. They're trying to make good beer that they really enjoy and they're really proud of. And I think they have every right to be proud of their beer. I got a chance to have Indiction, one of their new sours, in Boston a couple of years ago. It was one of the first places that they released it for the Funk Festival there. Fantastic. It was a Sauvignon Blanc barrel-aged blonde sour. Excellent. Like, these people have been doing it for the real passion of the industry of making good beer for a long time, longer than probably a lot of you have been into beer. So fuck you for calling them out on how they want to do their business. So, yeah.
I mean, look, not only do they make great beer and have for many, many years, and I mean, one of my fondest memories is drinking the fuck out of Pliny with you and Tracy when we were out west somewhere for some CBC or something.
When we were in Portland, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that just so many beers available, and I'm like, no, just keep the fucking pints of Pliny coming. I mean,
we were at an English pub, in Portland.
And it
apparently,
was like
I can't remember what the name of the place was, but apparently they're like a craft beer place. But yeah, to be able to get English pints, like 20-ounce pints of Pliny, there was awesome.
Yeah, we were drinking pints of Pliny at an English bar that was doing a Lagunitas tap takeover
with the guy from Magic Rock and Wayne Wambles.
Oh yeah, but look, I mean, I knew their motives and their ethics were in the right place when I attended a seminar at CBC, and Natalie was one of the speakers, and I'm pretty sure the topic was like growing your brewery, and they were talking about how they spent this ridiculous, or she was, talking about how they had just spent a ridiculous amount of money on a new brew house, and she goes, we didn't buy a bigger brew house. We bought the same size brew house, but a better one so we could make better beer. And that really touched me because this was during like the height of everyone being like, I'm going to get a bigger brew house and I'm going to order 40 new tanks and I'm going to expand across the region. And everyone just thought they were going fucking global. And here you have a brewery who easily could have done that and had the fan base and the fucking receipts with the beer to show for it. And they're like, no, we're going to make the same amount of beer, but we're going to be able to do it better. And that stuck with me for a long time. So I'm glad they sold out of that shit real quick. I don't care that these fucking nerds are pissed off because, if it wasn't this release, it was going to be some other release. So good for them. And, try again next year.
Yeah.
You lose. You get nothing. Good day, sir.
Good day, sir. All right. So, Joel, you want to take us into the main thing that we're going to talk about tonight?
Yeah, as soon as my brother's dog stops barking. So some not so good news, once again, coming from pretty well-known, I guess, nationwide brewery. I don't know how far they expand, but Boulevard Brewing out of Kansas City, a brewery that for a while I greatly respected, and our friend of the show, Jeremy Danner, well-known brewer and beer guy across the country, beloved by many. He had nothing to do with this. He was fired from there some time ago, but Boulevard Brewing, man. I'm going to read some quotes out of a Good Beer Hunting article that was written by Kate Bernard just to kind of give the gist of it, because explaining this is not going to be good if I just go off on my own. So let me just read this. So basically it says, this week, allegations surfaced of sexual assault and multiple incidents of gender-based harassment at Kansas City's Boulevard Brewing Company, prompting the company to issue a statement and subsequent apology. Boulevard's president, Jeff Crum, resigned Wednesday, saying he failed to ensure that workplaces were free of any form of real or perceived harassment or demonstrations of unwanted attention. Crum also resigned as president of Boulevard's parent company, Duvel USA. The company says he retains no stock options and received no retirement package. The brewery's vice president of marketing, Natalie Gershon, also publicly resigned Wednesday, stating that she did not agree with the company's decisions surrounding the allegations. So, unfortunately, you have another one of these situations of a big fucking brewery not only being outed as having this toxic culture of harassment and shit like that, but also releasing just a terrible statement that was very poorly worded and couldn't have done a worse job of explaining what was going on and what they were doing to address the situation. And it was kind of one of those things where, of course the internet's going to jump all over that, as they should. And then, as the article I just quoted said, then they come out with the subsequent apology. And that's another fucking problem.
Well, the apology was after saying something.
Right.
They made a statement, and then they didn't apologize in that, and that got people heated even more.
Right. And that seems common these days.
Yeah.
Because, we have a culture where something publicly goes wrong, whether it's an individual person or a company itself, and an apology is made, and no one wants to accept the apology. And it is a real thing when there seems like there's no path to redemption. And some companies couldn't handle it any fucking worse, like Founders, who just seem to be sticking by, I don't know, maybe what their lawyers are telling them. I mean, one guy testifying that, like, he didn't know a guy was black or something. Like, I mean, the details of the story are so fucking horrific. Like, I don't even want to rehash that shit, but it was so horrible and so poorly, done. And one of those companies where it's just like they seem to be doing no work whatsoever. And, people want to see these things change, and at the same time also aren't willing to accept an apology no matter what. I mean, but obviously an apology is needed, and obviously something needs to be said about, hey, we realize something happened. But in this case, it seems like it's another one of those situations where they're only really reacting and they're only really apologizing because they realize they've been caught, and they realize that after they were caught, the initial statement wasn't good enough, and the internet got real pissed off. And it's like, well, now we're working on doing something. And it's like, well, why weren't you working on this when you first heard about this shit? Why weren't you working about this a long time ago? What kind of fucking culture do you have in place where all these employees are afraid to speak out for their jobs and everything? And it's only now that because the internet is blowing up on you that you're saying, oh, we're going to do this and that. I mean, it's great that these fucking terrible people have resigned. I don't know how much further it extends. There's other quotes in the article talking about someone had been assaulted, and the people at the center of these allegations are still not publicly known. And now there, a statement was posted on Reddit by a group of employees of Boulevard, basically saying, hey, we got these shitbags to resign. We're not going to take it anymore. We are going to come together and assure that there's going to be accountability. There's going to be a positive culture, that we're not going to put up with all this harassment and bullshit. And that's great. It's good to see that coming together. And like the problem that I have with this entire thing is that, and I'm so weary of even getting into this topic because so many things can be taken out of context. So, people love to just twist your words and shit these days. And like, believe me, I'm totally on the side of the staff of Boulevard here. I just have a weird thing about, like, I've seen a lot of quotes lately about people saying, I didn't want to speak up because, I didn't want to risk my job, didn't want to be branded as like a difficult employee. Because, I mean, for as big as Boulevard is, the beer community is still relatively small in the sense that like so many of us know each other. I mean, you and I know people who work at Boulevard still and former employees there. Like we interact with them online all the time, and a million other breweries. So, word travels, and we talk about people amongst ourselves here. Like, someone will work for a brewery we know down here, and will have a certain experience there, and then word starts getting around about them being a difficult employer, whatever. There's all this gossip and rumor mill shit, and but once again, we're learning that this industry is not what it purports itself to be. And that's the big fucking problem I have. And, over the years, I've said a lot of things like, everybody's pushing local and independent. None of that means quality. I've said a lot of stuff like that. I've tried to kind of pull the curtain back on some of these things, as tactfully as I can. And it's just like, it's enough bullshit already with this industry. And this is not victim blaming in any way, believe me, because I've been in some pretty horrible situations at breweries myself where I really had to sit there and like think to myself, like, I'm either going to say something right now or I'm going to lose my job and not know what to do next. And I mean, I have been verbally abused. I've been fucking just treated like shit. I've been overworked, underpaid, had to deal with, being overruled on poor, and believe me, none of this is even remotely on the same level as sexual harassment, racism, sexual assault. I mean, none of that is even in the same fucking realm. So I'm not trying to compare those things, but what I'm saying is that I understand what it's like to be in a situation where it's like you feel like you need to, step up and say what's right and stand up for yourself or stand up for someone else, or possibly lose your job and have no idea how you're going to feed your kids tomorrow. And especially now with the pandemic and like, this is not the time for people to risk being unemployed. And last year I quit, probably the best job I ever had because of safety concerns with the pandemic and shit like that. And I was taking a lot of shit for a very long time and had been verbally abused there and put through a lot of bullshit and, been made to speak to fucking labor lawyers and all kinds of horse shit. And finally I was like, you know what? Fuck you. You're on your own. I'm not putting up with this anymore. And like I was saying a minute ago, this is not victim blaming in any way, but I feel like a lot of people right now need to stand up and go, fuck you. I'm so tired of hearing stories of, unsafe workplaces, whether it's just physical safety or any of the things that are in this Boulevard story, racism. Like, we know this fucking industry doesn't pay a living wage. We know this industry is sexist. We know this industry can be racist. And like, look, this industry has saved my life. I used to sit in a cubicle and contemplate suicide and what my funeral would be like. I love what I do. I love who I work for and who I work with. I love what I make, all that. But this industry does not define us. These jobs don't define us. And if it's at a point where, things are so fucking bad and you feel like you have to choose between your own well-being and this job, well, then fuck that job and get out of there. You'd be much better off doing something completely different than having to endure any, physical abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse, all of these horrible things. And I'm so tired of the industry being put on this pedestal as if it's something we need to be so, there's this whole thing of like, it's beer and we all got to be nice. And like, no, bullshit should be called out. We know there are unethical people doing all kinds of horrible shit from, I could sit here and go on and on about all the fucking shit that I try to talk about that, people think I'm a dick for saying, but like, there's a lot of bullshit going on in this industry, just as there are in a million other industries. And I don't know why the craft beer industry continues to act as if like it's just on this completely other level And one thing it really tries to do is go, oh, we're not big beer, we're not evil, like we're the small local family owned, right across the street brewery, so we're your buddy. And it's like, no, there's like, look, craft beer is great, but it's not perfect, and it's really fucking far from perfect, and I'm tired of it being put in this light where it's like, I've got to be in this industry. Like I'm nothing without this industry, and I'm passionate about this, and I love it. And like, look, that's great. That's what we need. We need great people in this industry. But what we don't need are people who feel like they have to sacrifice any part of their own well-being to be in this industry. Because it's like, if you're not going to speak up now, when are you going to speak up? This shit is just going to continue to happen. So if you're at a fucking brewery right now that treats people like shit, doesn't pay a living wage, says toxic things, does toxic things, say something or get the fuck out of there. And if they want to try to, tell other breweries that you're a problem or you're difficult or you're this or you're that, fuck them. You know your own truth. And you take that with you to another brewery and out these motherfuckers. Say something. Blast them on the internet. Do whatever the fuck you got to do, because this goddamn industry is never going to fix itself if this shit just keeps going on and people think like they've got to, take shit just to be a part of it. I mean, that's not what this is supposed to be.
Yeah. First thing that I want to say is I love you, Joel. And second is one thing that you iterated there, people feeling like that they need to be silent, not say anything, shut up and put their head down and do their job. I feel like was something that we brought up during last episode with Anye, and is also something that seemingly came up in this particular victim's post that she wrote out, and how she talked with a lawyer who was like, look, pretty much all you can do here is do this, like you got to wait around until you can actually document this sort of discrimination, or you just find a better job. And
it's disgusting.
Then, yeah, it is. But here's what it comes down to me. And the term craft beer is a term that I've had a love-hate relationship with for probably the last 2 to 3 years of my life and career, because this term craft beer means nothing legally. It really doesn't. And I know that there are some people who feel so passionately about that term that they want it to have some legal standing, because people like AB can like put that on a label and say like, hey, craft brewery, 10 Barrel. Hey, craft brewery, Goose Island, Wicked Weed, whatever. And they're legally allowed to do that because it doesn't fucking mean anything. The Brewers Association are the ones who have dictated these terms of this term. And the Brewers Association is really one who has created an environment to where craft breweries, small, independent, traditional, who say that a brewery the size of Boston Beer Company is the same as the little 1 Barrel brewery across the street. We're all the fucking same, but we're fucking not. And that's fucking embarrassing to me, is that they moved the goalposts so much to be able to say that those people are still a part of this club. And it all turns into this, we're small, like we're small independent businesses. And, there's tons of small independent businesses around here who I fucking love. And I support the hell out of. My coffee shop that I go to, small and independent. Like they have 2 locations. They do all their own roasting. Like I love to support small independent artists from small independent stores who sell T-shirts and stickers and buttons and whatnots. And the fact that like we are supposed to say in craft beer that those people that make coffee at one location and then have a little coffee shop and sell other people's t-shirts and buttons and stickers are the same as fucking Starbucks and Macy's practically. Like that we are putting them all into the same the same pool, and then I think creates this idea that like, oh, we don't need HR and we don't need people really paying attention to what's going on over there because we're all small, we're all independent, we're all swashbucklers, and we're all sticking it to the man. Even though, like, with that idea, we've taken a company like Boulevard, who is a part of the Duvel Mortgat, like USA, like brand that includes like Omegang and Firestone Walker, and like are a large company. And the fact that something like this happened under their watch just shows that there's still some bullshit and shenanigans going on at these companies because possibly because of this whole idea of small, independent. Look, we're still this. We're sticking. We don't need HR. We don't need people actually looking into, oh, that guy, he said something sexist or racist or harassing this employee. Yeah, we'll just sit him down and talk to him. Everything's going to be all right. And unfortunately, that is a fucking environment that we have created upon ourselves by just this perpetual idea that we're all the fucking same, that we're all small, that we're all independent, and things don't happen like that when you're small. So we'll work it out within the family. The family, that's a fucking bullshit term that I hate hearing within this, is, bullshit happens at all sizes of companies. And you got to be prepared to be able to deal with it under any circumstance like that. And I know that small companies really hope that they don't have to, but sometimes they do. A company the size of Boulevard is probably more than likely going to have to deal with something like that, more so than the smaller guys, but they have to be able to be equipped to deal with that. And it seems like they failed their employees in their ability to deal with that, whether that be from a small independent fucking gung-ho mindset or a corporate standpoint that said, protect the company at all cost. I don't know. But I'm glad that people are being put on the chopping block for that, and that people have resigned or been fired for what has gone down with that. I mean, it's certainly more than can be said about what happened with Founders over the last few years. And then the statement that came out a few days after this from representative of the employees of Boulevard, showing them all standing together, was a really great thing to see and read. We didn't get to see anything like that from Founders. Right. And it really does go to show, I think, this issue that we have internally with this whole concept of craft beer. I don't like to use that term anymore. When people ask me, what do I do for a living? Like when I met the people who live across the street from me right now, I say that I work at a brewery. I don't say that I work at a craft brewery, because I just don't like that term anymore. And I think that there's too much negativity associated with it internally in the just structure of it. And look, I learned a long time ago from being a musician and being all this fucking punk rock, like indie stuff. Shit's all fucking bullshit. Like, eventually, all the good ones are always going to sign to a major label. They're going to put out a record that you don't fucking like, but they do. It's fucking economy. That's the way that the fucking industry in anything works. Everyone's going to sell out if they become good at some point, or they're just going to quit. And, like, people just need to get over some of this punk rock mentality. And as much as I like to stick it to the man a lot of the times, but you got to get over some of that bullshit sometimes and grow the fuck up and realize that there's more important things than being small and independent. And like, we don't have this fucking structure, but what do you fucking do then when one of your employees is being sexually harassed, being verbally harassed, or more than your one employee? Like, who's taking care of that shit, and who is making sure that the people responsible for that are punished, are no longer there to hurt other people, enable other people? Like, I don't care how small and independent you are. If you can allow stuff like that to happen, then fuck you. I don't care how big or how small you are.
Did you ever see the episode of Family Guy where Peter admits to not liking The Godfather?
I feel like I probably have. It's been a long time since I've watched some Family Guy.
I think it was one of those Star Wars parodies where they're in the trash compactor and I think they're like about to die and admitting stuff, something like that. But everyone's like, "What? Oh my God, how could you?" And his defense is, "It insists upon itself." And they're like, "What?" He's like, "It insists upon itself. It insists upon itself." And that's what I feel like about beer right now. Like, the fucking title of this episode should be "The Brewmaster Has No Clothes."
Gonna write that down.
Because the emperor has no clothes, meaning, it's a term used to describe like a situation when people maybe don't want to criticize something because they think the subject of it is too important or too good or, shouldn't be messed with. But, we've blown so much smoke up each other's asses that now nobody can see through the fog. And not only do we need to stop putting the industry on a pedestal, we need to knock it down from the fucking pedestal it's already on and demand better of ourselves and each other. And it's really goddamn frustrating to see these stories continually coming out, especially from these bigger breweries who should have, fucking HR departments in place. I mean, how did you get that big being that shitty? You know what I mean? And
yeah,
this is why I have such a problem with like the whole independent, artisan, craft, local, because it's like, oh, there's the independent seal on my can. Wonderful. Is it going to explode? We're craft, local, artisan, family owned and operated. Wonderful. Do you fucking pay a living wage? Do you have maternity leave? Is there health insurance? Do you have a fucking safety program in place? Or do you let the fucking cellarman climb up on an 80-barrel fermenter on a fucking rickety ladder in his sandals to dry hop your next fucking haze bomb? What are you really about? Because your fucking independent seal doesn't tell me that. But it's really frustrating. It's really fucking frustrating the way we have all signed on to what I call the craft beer circle jerk. And look, I don't want to be doing anything else. Like, I either want to be doing this or just be fucking retired. But this industry has a lot of goddamn problems, and it needs to be more out in the open. People need to start demanding more of themselves, their leadership, each other. Like, it's supposed to be like, oh, it's beer, be nice. And it's like, well, how are we ever going to get better if you don't call out the brewery that's doing horrible shit to people? At the very minimum, doing unethical things like stealing IP or having exploding cans and blaming the customer. I mean, those are the small things, on a large scale of like, they're nothing compared to the harassment and all the other shit we're talking about. But top to bottom, there should be accountability. If we're going to frame ourselves as this fucking ethical, moral, high ground business that isn't as evil as the big guys, like, that's horseshit. Because we've like 50% of the owners I've worked for have been complete scumbags who just wanted to open a fucking brewery to have their own little social club and get laid, and it's gross, and they fucking run those places into the ground. Like, just in like people wanting to get into the business, you talk to them and you can tell that they think the industry is what they see on Instagram, like bro handshakes in front of the brew house on collab days and, fun shit and fucking like, we're like, in one hand, we're like, hey, drink responsibly. On the other hand, we're fucking sending out like basically chain mail tagging each other in chug challenges and shit like that. Like, so do we drink responsibly, or are we chugging fucking stovepipes of Imperial Stout? Like, what are we doing? The whole industry is just so up its own ass, and shit's got to change. Otherwise, it's going to get even worse. The fucking industry is far outgrowing the availability of qualified, trained professionals. I mean, people are seeing a hot trend and just going, oh, I have a checking account, so I'm going to open a business, having no idea how to operate a business, having no idea how fucking beer is made. And it's like, that's the best and worst thing about the industry, is that anybody can do it. And when anybody can do it, you're going to invite a lot of fucking bullshit. I mean, we've seen what happened with the Brewers Association and these like fucking new standards they put in place about like fucking beer names and all this other like, it's all horseshit. Like, no one, like, it just feels like it's one of those things, like, there's really no leadership. It's kind of a decentralized thing, and everyone needs to individually hold themselves accountable and to a better standard and everything like that. Otherwise, it's fucked.
Yeah. There's double standards, no standards, so much. You have to eventually become what you fear or you don't want to be, to a certain extent, at least for ensuring the safety of your employees and your company. Like, I what you were saying about the HR folks, like, I know HR folks get a tough rap a lot of times, like, because like you'll hear people say, oh, it's their job to protect the company, not the employees. And that might be the case with some people. One of our good friends is an HR person, and I've spoken to him a ton of times about things that go on in breweries and even his own company that he works for. And he works for a good sized company, and he's always his main job is to look out for the company, but he's definitely going to look out for the employees as well. Like, if he hears something and finds out something that is detrimental to an employee's health and well-being, like, he's certainly going to speak up about it and do what he can to create a better environment for that person, because he's a good person, and I feel like, also understands his role well. I know that not every brewery can afford to have a full-time HR person, but like, if you're a fucking owner, like, this is something that you need to get yourself pretty well damn versed in being as an HR person, and being able to deal with tough topics and tough subjects. Like, I know at Right On Brewing Company, I had to one time have a tough conversation with an employee over something that I overheard them say, that I was like, yo, fucking cut that shit out. Do not talk about this. Like, this, you could turn this into a way bigger issue. And like, hey, let's all be in this together. I'm not an HR person, and I had to step in where I saw something potentially happening and try to right the ship for not just the company. It really wasn't even for the company. It was for the people involved, and was like, yo, let me make sure that no one gets hurt out of this, people wise. And I don't know, like I want happy people working next to me. I want happy people working beside me, under me, above me, whatever. Like, I don't think that I necessarily have the chops to be a full-time HR person, but in a small situation like this, sometimes you gotta make that be a thing, and you gotta have uncomfortable conversations with people that you might not want to, but if it helps create a better environment for even just one person that felt uncomfortable, felt threatened in their work environment, then you've done a fantastic job. If you allow for that person who felt threatened and felt vulnerable to go further, like after they told you that they felt this way, and you do nothing, fuck. Like, even if you can't, make it your business to find someone who can help and make this a thing. Like, if you're a middle management person and you're like, I don't have what it takes to deal with this, go to your manager and then be like, can you help me with this? I don't want to say like, well, what if you run out of rungs? I don't want to get into that, because that could be a fucking hour to 2 hour conversation on a podcast of people who aren't qualified to really talk about that. But yeah, there's always got to be someone beside you, above you, that can help you out with things like that, because there is no reason that a person should feel unsafe in the environment that they're working in. And that goes for fucking beer too.
No, 100%. And one other thing that I've seen discussed, which I think is really problematic, is people talking about having to sign NDAs, which include language about, like after you leave, obviously, like, the standard NDA in beer seems to be like, oh, you can't talk about our recipes and how we do shit and processes and stuff like that. Yeah, fine. But the other language that I find very troublesome is talking about, like, after you leave, you can't talk about, like, inside things that went on here as far as, maybe some problems with harassment.
Culture and...
Right. And that, like, if you see that, don't fucking sign that. Be like, I want this reworded. Because if I'm witness to some shit and I see things that go down, like at Boulevard or like Founders, I'm not tolerating that, and I'm definitely discussing it. Don't sign something like that and then paint yourself into a corner where you could be subject to some sort of legal action for doing the right thing and speaking out. And I know people are quick to be like, oh yeah, I'll sign an NDA. I want to be a part of your brewery so bad. Listen, nothing is worth your mental health, your safety, no fucking job, no industry. I'd rather be bagging groceries than fucking feel unsafe and treated like shit. And like I said on a previous episode, this has got to be our fucking year, guys. 2020 fucked us all, and so much was out of our control. And now it's time to turn it around. It's time to demand more of yourself, of everyone else who, may have an effect on you, whether it's family, employers, co-workers. Like, we need to do the work to have our best lives. And silence isn't the way. Sacrificing for a fucking stupid paycheck isn't the way. Because that's all it is at the end of the day. It's a goddamn paycheck. Like, I know people have committed so much to this and sacrificed so much. I know I have. But if at any point I ever feel like I'm being treated like I have been before in the past by certain employers, I'm fucking out. And if that means I got to sit at home and maybe not get another brewery job and, transition to something else, even at this fucking age, like, I'm going to do that because I'm not sacrificing myself for anyone anymore. I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability, but I'm not taking anybody's shit. I'm not taking abuse. I'm not going to put up with, fucking just all the nonsense that we know goes on, because it's enough of that. The industry is far too along now to be fucking having more and more shit like this come out.
Yeah. I feel like we've probably said as much as we can on this topic, at least for right now. With that said, I think it's time to move on to our last calls. Time in the show where we get a little bit of time to voice our opinion on a topic, whether that be positively or negatively, unopposed, with no recourse afterwards. And Joel, do you have a last call?
I just want to say thank you again to Chicago Alley for bringing me those amazing beers and being so generous and hanging out at the brew house a couple of days with us and enjoying some of our beers as well. I was driving home one day this week, and I love when I have like these little epiphany moments, which are really rare, but it felt really good to suddenly realize, like, hey, I know a lot of fucking awesome people. There was a time years ago, like in my, I don't know, early to mid 20s, where like I was out of school and I was just kind of working shit job after shit job and didn't know a whole lot of people. I was kind of isolated. And now I feel like I just know a million people. And like, this is the cool part of the industry, right? Like, we've met so many amazing people and made so many amazing connections. And, like we've said before, after all this bullshit is over with COVID, I can't wait to travel the country and have beers with a million fucking people. But I really realized, like, wow, I know so many awesome, cool fucking people who are just fun and funny and selfless and generous and, cool to talk to and all of that shit. And like, it wasn't always like that. And I'm very grateful to everybody I know. And I feel like, cause like, I'm like, in one day, like somehow I ended up talking to like so many people through like text and phone. And like, it was just weird. Like it was more communication than I'm normally used to in having in one day. And it was like, holy fuck, like, I know so many cool fucking people, and I'm so grateful for them. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. Like, I feel like it's almost hard to juggle how many amazing people I know, and I've got to work a little harder at staying connected with them and checking in on them and making sure they're okay. And it just fucking sucks with all this isolation and all this bullshit still going on. I can't wait to get back out there and have beers with people, man. I mean, fuck, just the trip you and me and Phil are talking about, a little road trip up to Sarasota. I mean, that's like, fuck, I want to do that so bad.
Yeah. The point that I know that this is normally not supposed to be a thing that we talk about, but once I can get on a plane safely and go somewhere again, like, I can't wait for that, because I know we've talked about it on the show before, and I'm going to bring it up again, even though Phil's not technically on the show anymore. But the whole idea of going to our like places of where we grew up and letting the other kind of show the way for a weekend, like, I can't wait to go to Chicago and like go to Metro and go to Off Color and go to Dovetail and go to Rev and go to Half Acre and fucking eat some fucking pizza and do so much awesome stuff in Chicago, just as much as I want to fucking go home to Philly and fucking show you guys what I love about Philly and what I learned about Philly from my time living back there, even just for a year. And just like, that stuff makes me excited. As for my last call, I was initially going to be a little bit negative, but like, I'm trying to make this a year of positivity. I've talked shit about people who are positive in the past, overly positive, that it bugs me, it pisses me off, because I'm like, you're putting on a fucking charade. Like, not the whole world isn't fucking positive and unicorns and rainbows and bullshit. Like, there's dark and there's devious and there's terrible shit. All of that shit still is true. But I am trying to make this year and my life forward a little bit more of a positive life. I don't want to be so negative anymore. I want to talk about the positives. I want to talk about people doing things the right way. And I don't want to harp on people doing things that I just don't like. Like, I think I said this before on this show many times, as long as you're not hurting anyone, you're not discriminating against anyone for who they are, sex, color, religion, whatever, like, leave it the fuck alone. It's none of your fucking business. If someone likes fucking Howard the Duck, then so be it. That's probably, I just heard my wife laugh, but like, I know that's one of those like terrible movies. But you know what? I liked Howard the Duck growing up. I didn't understand it a whole lot as a kid, but you know what? Fuck it. Like, if you like a fucking form of entertainment, enjoy the fucking shit out of it. You enjoy eating something that someone else doesn't, fucking do it. That's what I'm going for this year, is like, enjoy the shit out of your life. Don't hurt people. Don't discriminate against people. Keep those two things in mind and just fucking live your life. Stop talking shit about people who do something that doesn't impact your life, and just live yours. And you know what? Maybe we'll have a fucking slightly better world to live in. And that's what I'm going with.
Howard the Duck scared the shit out of me because that Jeffrey Jones monster.
Yeah.
But Leah Thompson was probably like my first celeb crush. Fucking Space Camp.
Understandable.
Amen to what you said. I love fucking hair metal and 80s montage music, so if you don't like that, blow me.
I love both of those things as well. I also love new wave, and my wife has probably gotten me into that more so than I ever did. But you know what, Joel, you want to plug anything?
Yeah, I'm still doing my thing at Joel Brews. Not so much beer talk aside from, talking about what I'm doing at the brewery and my usual psychedelic. And I got people fucking reaching out for like investment advice after all this bullshit. I'm like, yeah. Losing my ass on Dogecoin right now.
Fucking buy Dogecoin, motherfuckers.
Yes, buy Dogecoin. Let's
Straight
get it
to
to
the moon.
Dogecoin goes to $1, I get a new car.
You can follow me at Mike Loves Beer. I don't talk so much about Doge, but I have some money in it. But you can follow the show at United We Drink on Twitter, at United We Drink Pod on Instagram, and you can support the show monetarily by buying a shirt, button, sticker on our web store, unitedwedrink.com/store, or by visiting any of our sponsors and using any of their service. If you go to our website, unitedwedrink.com, go to the sponsors page, we have some awesome options there. American Homebrewers Society, Wink, for all of you wine lovers out there. You can get some good wine options. Micromatic. You can build your own draft system at home or buy some parts for your draft system at home. And by going through those links, you help support this show, and we really appreciate that. And you can also subscribe to us on any of the major podcast services: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review. Rating takes literally 2 seconds. And reviewing takes however long it takes for you to write a review. Like, you can write like, "They cool." And I'm really hoping that I can find a review that says "Day Cool." Leave out the L. Just say "Day Cool" on your review of us on like Saturday next week. That would be great. It really does help out the show. So if you can do that and you're a Apple Podcast person, we appreciate that. Other than that, we'll be back in a couple of weeks doing stuff, saying things, drinking stuff. And for Joel, my name's Mike. We appreciate you all. Be cool to one another. Be excellent to one another. Cheers.
Cheers.
You have to download their app. I know it's another app on your phone, but and my dog is very upset.
Doesn't like that idea.
Hold on just a second.